Pecha Kucha 85, Comics and Diversity, plus Garfeilf. That's Garfield with an F at the end, not a D, because it's about Garfield parodies. Remember that if you decide you want to Google it. So Comics and Diversity is a channel I've subscribed to because the dude was just ripping on a comic and I found it funny, so I subscribed. It's an all new Wolverine, where Wolverine isn't in it, but I don't know, her daughter or her younger sister is, and she teams up with Deadpool, and the comic this guy shows is so bad, and it's such a waste of everybody involved, and there's a talking Wolverine. It's I get the impression Disney were in charge of this. And then, this guy shows a couple more comics. There's a Lockjaw 4-issue miniseries, which is effectively about this guy called D-Man, who is some kind of gay hipster, and it's an atrocious read, and you can tell that it's kind of been, like the guy says in the title here, it's a Marvel comic that only exists to impress the writer's disinterested hipster friends. There's a lot of kind of talk about social justice warriors and how it's messing up Marvel's, policies for comic book writing. It's kind of toxic. I might unsubscribe to the channel. We'll see. I was on the phone this week talking to someone, and while I was on the phone, I was copying a couple of choice pages from Deadpool versus the Punisher, which I read last week or the week before. This is probably my favorite page because it's like Deadpool's realizing that something's very wrong, and they devote a whole page to him just slowly realizing. The compositions of each individual panel is more than I usually do, and then the page as a whole. Even if I was actually paying attention to what I was doing, these compositions would be a bit difficult to accurately depict. And Taskmaster's a boss in this. And this is a perfect counterbalance to the stuff that Comics and Diversity guy was showing, because it was mediocre comics, written and drawn. The colorists gets a free pass. They just had to show up and do their job. But yeah, sucks for everybody else. Well, no, it sucks for them because they go down in flames with the rest of them. So yeah, I was doing a little bit of work on some of my Smiley shows. I'm doing a follow-up to the previous one I haven't published. The idea is to get 5 in a row, put them up, and then actually, run a system. So I just keep putting stuff up. So this is Ash Crimson talking about his favorite German, and yeah, I'm probably going to color it with flats, and it just made sense to do the Akuma kind of back thing, the 10 in color, because that's how I imagined it. So yeah, Akuma stops the nonsense by showing up and adding to the nonsense, of course. And yeah, I think just using the chalk brush, doing 2 or 3 layers to just try and tighten it up, is probably the best way to get me getting done. So this is like a layer before the finished layer, where I'm still trying to figure out where everything goes. And like Akuma is actually more complicated to draw than anything I've drawn, because he's kind of in action poses. So I'm gonna, yeah, it kind of reminds me that I don't actually know how to draw, so I should look into that maybe a little bit. We'll see. So yeah, I started adding flats to the previous comic, and it kind of immediately confirmed that that's what I should do. I'll white out the eyes and the mouths, and I have to figure out how bright I want the background to be. That's the thing as well. But yeah, I'm going to try and keep the colouring really low-key. So yeah, Garfeilf. I showed a video last week because this came into my queue, but I didn't realise that this was the tip of the iceberg. This one is so good though. Like it's like the voices are done with automated text to voices, and it's got this manic jazz music in the background, and it all started with this video titled Garfeilf, and it's badly drawn. It uses the text to voice thing. All of the YouTube poop that has been made off of this uses the same voices, and there's a lot of it. So I thought I'd sample the platter, as they say. Some of it's pretty good, some of it's not. Which is typical of YouTube poop. It's called that for a reason. Eventually the stink will get to you and you just gotta fuck off. But yeah, you go to Voice Forge. Jerkface is the voice of John. You type some stuff in, you play it. It demos for you for free. Typos are welcome because it makes the what is said even more retarded. And it's the wise guy for Garfield. So yeah, I know how I could make one, and then of course this shows up, steamed hams, but Garfield. When you know, then YouTube knows you know, then it just sends you everything, right? So that was two worlds colliding for me. Wow. Yeah. Well, it's this or complaining about social justice warriors. So this is the kind of YouTube experience I'm looking for. Terrible comedy. Speaking of terrible comedy, Tim Heidecker. More than I can say, but the trial of Tim Heidecker I came across this week, which is played straight, but it's shown on Adult Swim, so you can just about figure out that it isn't real, but only just about, because it is played so straight. Tim Heidecker on trial for multiple manslaughter. It's crazy. Maybe watch 10 minutes or so, get a feel for it. KRS-One, The World Is Mine, I've been listening to this. KRS-One's a name I've heard around. He's totally legit. And his message is surprisingly positive for a guy who sounds so angry. Right, so what am I going to do next week? I'm going to not be a deprecious bimbo, Jonathan. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make a Garfield video, but having it on the table is something I can do because I know where the bits are. I love this art. I love how bad it is. I really need to make some bad art. I really do, because it's awesome. All right, so that brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 85, and I'll see you next time.